All right, welcome to 2020's first episode of Straight Talk. We're here in the Istanbul office of Property Turkey with Cameron Niggin.
Hello.
And today we'll be talking about what does 2020 hold for Turkish economy. And let's focus on the Turkish economy, but I want you to keep your answers nice and short, okay?
What are you doing?
Okay, this is my new trick now, okay? Your time has started now. Okay.
All right, fantastic.
Here's my question. What do we expect in 2020 in terms of Turkish economy? What is going to happen?
In terms of Turkish economy, that will have an impact on Turkish real estate.
Yeah.
Is I'd like to summarize it under 4 headings.
All right.
4 headings that, in my opinion, will have an impact. 1, economic growth. Turkey's projected economic growth for 2020. 2, what will happen to interest rates?
Okay.
Central bank lending rates, very important for the domestic market. 3, citizenship by investment, which, as you know, the last 18 months
Which is
to
one
2
of the
years
main driving
is
reasons.
has been a
why foreigners are investing
massive
in Turkey,
driver
yeah.
for foreign direct investment.
Sure.
And number 4, mega projects,
Yeah.
particularly of Istanbul. These sometimes could be things that shape the real estate industry.
Okay.
So there are 4 things I want to talk about.
Let's start with the GDP.
Further to the devaluation of the currency in 2018, Turkish economy has gone through a rather tight spot.
Yeah.
What happened is the interest rates kind of went
up,
up,
yeah.
shot up in order to rein in
Yeah.
the devaluation of Turkish lira, which had the anticipated impact.
Yeah.
Turkish lira kind of stabilized. But with it obviously came a period of slow growth.
Yeah.
In fact, the IMF was expecting negative growth for 2019.
Yeah.
The expectation was around minus 2%. So
Wow.
contraction of Turkish economy
Yeah.
was expected. However, Turkish economy fared a lot better than expectations.
What
and
was
it-
the percentage
And it
last year?
managed to grow by 1%. In fact, for 2019, 1% growth was pretty good, much higher than expectations.
Yeah.
For 2020, the expectation is 3%, just over 3% GDP growth,
Yeah.
which is more than twice as strong as European Union average, more than twice as strong as US expected GDP growth. So when you look at developed economies, Turkey seems to be, if we consider Turkey as a developed economy, which Turkey is regarded as a developed economy.
Even Donald Trump regards Turkey as a developed economy now.
Well, up until 6-7 years ago, Turkey was classified under BRICS, like the emerging economies. But nowadays, it's kind of being classified more as a developed economy. So as a developed economy, 3% GDP growth under the current global climate is actually not bad at all. So that's a positive. And moving from 2018, only 18 months ago, a 29% devaluation in currency, moving from that to 3% GDP growth actually underpins that Turkish economy has got some strong fundamentals.
Yeah, it's bouncing back.
Because no economy could bounce back like
Turkey
that
has
from
a
a
production
devaluation.
economy.
Like that. Turkey has a
Turkey
production
produces-
economy.
yeah.
It's actually a big exporter of value-added goods, like electronics and electricals in particular, and motor vehicles too. Not a lot of people realize that, but Turkey is a predominant exporter.
So let's talk about the mortgage rates. Because of that economical chaos that Turkey went through back in 2018, the interest rates shot up, and how are they looking now?
Well, 2018 started at around 8% for interest rates. This is the Turkish Central Bank overnight lending rate.
Okay.
It was around 8% at the beginning of 2018. At the beginning of 2019, this rate was 25%. You can imagine that the domestic market came to a complete standstill.
Yeah.
Except for opportunistic investors who are cash rich, who went in to take advantage of the situation. Just as the same way that some of our overseas clients, acting on our advice, came into the market and took advantage of some very good opportunities that were, and to some extent still are, available in the market.
Because when there's a crisis in one economy, the first thing
That's
that you
when
have
you
to
buy
do-
real estate.
Yeah, exactly.
That's when you buy real estate.
Exactly.
In fact, the expression is when there's blood on the streets.
Yeah.
That's a very rough expression.
didn't want to say that, but
they say
yeah.
when there's blood on the streets, meaning when there's a downturn.
Yeah,
okay?
sure.
So basically, with 25% interest rates,
Yeah.
the domestic market in Turkey that accounts up to 95-96%
Yeah.
of real estate transactions in Turkey
Okay.
came to almost a standstill.
Are we expecting the domestic market to bounce back?
Well,
2020?
now, the interesting thing is 2019 opened at 25% interest rates, but 2019 closed at 13%. So
Yeah.
from 25% it already came down to 13%.
Yeah, almost 50%.
Of course. And my projection is that by June 2020 we'll be back to 8.5%, which
Yeah.
means that the Turkish domestic market will most certainly start coming back.
Yeah.
I'm not suggesting it will fully come back to the levels it was 3 years ago,
Yeah.
but you will see a noticeable, significant increase in Turkish investors and, more importantly, Turkish home buyers coming back to market. In fact, as you very well know, in the last 2 months of 2019, we already started seeing the move over, the changeover.
True, yeah.
The average shelf life of properties went down from 6, 7, 8 months to about 4 months,
Yeah.
indicating that the market got stronger. When I say the average shelf life of properties, the properties we take on.
Yeah.
And we always take on properties that have a very good chance of selling quickly. In other words, properties that are priced well to market and that are attractive. We don't
Yeah.
take on any old property.
Let me ask you this though. You're saying that starting from the second half of 2020, the
Yes.
Turkish domestic market
Will come back.
Will come back.
Yes.
Does that mean lesser opportunities for foreign buyers?
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
So
Because
what's your suggestion here?
all right, my suggestion is if you are investing and if you are looking to grab good opportunities, act in the first quarter of 2020. Failing that, early second quarter of 2020. Because after halfway after 2020, so when we look at end of summer 2020, I can assure you that there'll be a much more active Turkish market. And the more active the Turkish market, lesser the impact of foreign buyers. Because Turkish market traditionally accounts for a minimum 95% of all the market. So when 95% of the market comes out to play,
Yeah.
you're not really, as a developer, you're not really going to be too bothered
You
about
won't be targeting the
5% of
Yeah.
the market.
Let me ask you something interesting though. The citizenship by investment,
Yes.
$250,000. It was $1 million in
Yes.
the beginning, and after this currency crisis, the Turkish government has started
Pushed it
this
up
initiative-
September 2018.
Yes, September 2018. Now you're saying that the Turkish domestic market is expected to be back
Yes.
or bounce back, not fully.
It will
or
begin
partially,
bouncing
yeah.
back. Yeah.
Starting from the second half. of
That's my
2020.
projection, yes.
Okay. What do you think will happen to citizenship by investment initiative? Is it
Okay.
going to stay the same?
Okay. Citizenship by investment program will definitely not stay the same. Whether it will change in 2020 or 2021-22, I can't say. But I know one thing for sure, that the government is under immense pressure
Yeah.
from the opposition party to, in fact, stop it altogether.
Yeah.
To stop it altogether. However, what I expect will happen is the level will move from $250,000 probably up to $500,000, and then it will probably carry on for another 18 months to 24 months at that level, and then I expect it to be abolished. If you look at the statistics of the billions of dollars that the government published at the end of 2019
Yeah.
as the foreign direct investment that came in as a result of citizenship by investment, you're looking at, if I'm not mistaken, three point something billion dollars that they managed to generate as a result of that. Now, for an economy that is worth something in the region of $850 to $900 billion.
Yeah.
$3-4 billion doesn't sound a lot, and
Yeah.
it isn't a lot.
Yeah.
But Another 24 months, and that $3-4 billion will probably work its way up to $10-15 billion,
Yeah.
which will then start making some sense.
Yeah.
And with the mounting pressure from the opposition,
Yeah.
the chances are, towards the end of 2020,
Yeah.
we shall see a bill through the parliament to up it to $500,000.
Yeah.
And then another 24 months from there, we should be seeing the end of citizenship by investment in Turkey.
Yeah, because the government might not take that much of criticism.
Well,
But, yeah.
2023 is the elections.
Yeah.
So they will most certainly put a stop on
Yeah.
citizenship by investment before the election.
Okay, okay. All right, Cameron, let's summarize this. First one was the GDP growth of Turkey. You're saying that 3% of GDP growth is expected, which is actually good news for Turkey and
Yes.
Turkish economy, hence Turkish real estate. So there's a massive tick there. And also the mortgage rates coming down. It was 25% back in 2018 and after 2018, if I'm not mistaken. And now it's coming down to 13%. And we are expecting it to further go down to 8% by the second half of
To the
2020.
same level it was 3 years ago.
Yeah,
Yes.
so that will actually stimulate the Turkish domestic market to play a bigger role in the real estate landscape
Of course.
in Turkey. So that might mean lesser opportunities for foreign investors.
Certainly.
So our message here is act now as quick as possible in the first half of 2020.
Yes.
And also we talked about the citizenship by investment. You say that it is actually subject to some changes, and in this economic and political environment it might change, the rules can be bent or even can be totally abolished. Now let's talk about these mega projects. What should the foreign buyers keep their eyes on in 2020?
Okay. I know that Canal Istanbul is being talked about, and in fact, it's being heavily marketed.
Yeah.
I would take the whole point of Canal Istanbul with a bit of a pinch of salt. In other words, I would listen to it, laugh at it, and move on.
Yeah.
I wouldn't take Canal Istanbul seriously. Why? Because it's been talked about for the past 30 years.
Yeah.
Each time there's an election, each time we need to galvanize a few more votes, Canal Istanbul is being talked about.
Yeah.
In my opinion, Canal Istanbul is a very ambitious project.
Yeah.
It has pros and cons, but the feasibility and the viability of Canal Istanbul as a project in the near future, medium term,
Yeah.
is highly unlikely.
Okay.
So any purchase decisions you make, please do not fall into making purchase decisions with Canal Istanbul in mind, because 5 years, 10 years down the line,
Yeah.
when it doesn't materialize, you may regret that decision. So let's park that.
What else
But
do we have?
one project that is worthy of talking about is Istanbul Finance Center.
Yeah.
Istanbul Finance Center is a mega project. Currently, the financial heart of Istanbul is located in Levent, Mecidiyeköy, Şişli, parts of Maslak, and in a few other parts on the European side of Istanbul. And as we know, the infrastructure on the European side of Istanbul, particularly in these areas, is old, tired, and cumbersome.
Yeah.
So daily traffic, and on an annual basis, if you look at the cost and time and money wasted because of what we call traffic and noise pollution, frictional elements, is tremendous. So the project, which was pioneered almost 10 years ago, is to lift the headquarters of main financial institutions, including the Central Bank of Turkey,
Yeah.
and put them in a nicely, neatly organized finance center in Ataşehir area on the
Yeah.
Anatolian Asian side of Istanbul, came to a slight stop around 2018, coinciding with the same time as Turkish economy coming to a bit of a slowdown after the devaluation.
Yeah.
So there was a bit of an uncertainty, what's going to happen? Is Istanbul Finance Center project going to stop?
Yeah.
When will it continue? There was uncertainty. Towards the end of 2018 and throughout 2019, the government utilized Turkish Wealth Fund, Varlık Fonu,
Yeah.
and they injected most needed capital into Istanbul Finance Center. I was there 2-3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Work is underway full speed.
Yeah.
Most facets, most stages of the finance center have already been completed.
Yeah.
In the middle of it, you can actually see the names of Turkey's central bank, Yapı Kredi, Halkbank,
The biggest banks
the
in
biggest
Turkey,
banks,
yeah.
their names are already on the towers
So they're
that are
going
all
there,
up there.
yeah.
So it is happening.
So in a nutshell, you're saying that this mega project will make investors happy.
Istanbul Finance Center is an important project.
Yeah.
It will save tons of money
Yeah.
for Turkey in increased efficiency, and it will completely uplift the area of Ataşehir, which is already a prominent and very important, desirable area. So, invest in Istanbul Finance Center.
Okay.
You'll do well there.
That is your suggestion, but
Yes.
we're talking too much.
Let me see.
Yeah, it's gone. It's done. It's
All right,
done. I have
okay.
to change that. Okay. Look, I'm gonna ask you another two questions. Okay.
Two more? Okay, I'm okay
Two more
with that.
questions. But,
I'll live with that.
But this is your time constraint. Okay.
Okay,
Boom.
go.
You start. All right. Very quickly. Let's talk about Turkey's south coast.
Okay.
And by south coast, we're actually meaning southwestern part of Turkey.
Okay.
Places like Bodrum, Fethiye, Antalya, sort of.
Place in the sun.
Place in the sun, exactly.
The Paradise Coast.
We know that's basically one of the most precious areas of Turkey, and there's a huge foreign interest there.
Of course.
What about the interest in 2020? What do we expect?
Okay, I expect the interest in 2020 on the south coast of Turkey, south and southwest, to go up. Already throughout 2019, it has been on an upward scale.
Yeah.
Because as you know, the interest for the south and southwest coast of Turkey is mainly from Europeans.
Yeah.
It's the European home
Brits,
buyers.
Germans, Dutch,
It's
Irish.
mainly
yeah.
European. And when the European economy is faring better, and when there's optimism in the European economy, well, let's put it mildly, let's call it a spade. When there's cash in the pockets,
Yeah.
people buy on the south coast of Turkey because they find excellent value for money. So 2019 it already started going up, and 2020, which in fact general trends for Europe do not look too bad.
Yeah.
Can do better, but do not look too bad. I think there will be further interest for the south coast of
So
Turkey.
the south coast is looking bright.
Looking bright, and particularly watch out for the Brits. Because with the Brexit, they're coming out of the European Union. So destinations like Spain, Greece, Italy will no longer be in the same club.
Yeah.
So Turkey, in fact, for many intended purposes, will rank almost at par with Spain, Italy,
Yeah.
with a massive cost advantage, better value for money. So I think there'll be a swing from British buyers who traditionally
I'm checking if the time's
are
up.
in love with places like Bodrum,
Yeah.
Fethiye, and Kalkan and Kaş. I think we will see more and more of them in the market on the south coast.
That's great. Our last question.
Go ahead.
Okay, let me change. Let me ask my question.
Now
and
go
then
on,
I'm
you got
gonna
to do that. You got to flip it.
I will flip it, but after the question.
After the question,
After
okay.
the question. Okay. The question is this: Chinese buyers, biggest overseas buyers in the world. We know their reputation from changing the real estate landscape in
Of
world
course.
cities such as Tirana and other cities. And we're seeing more and more Chinese investors coming to Istanbul.
True.
Will they change the real estate landscape in Turkey in 2020?
Well, it is happening very fast. 2 years ago, you wouldn't see any Chinese home buyers or investors in Turkey. Now, every month we have Chinese clients,
Yeah.
and every month we are closing deals with Chinese clients. So from nothing to quite a noticeable number is a big swing, a big trend. I think 2020 we shall see a further increase in that trend. And watch out for our travel show,
Yeah.
which will be hosted by an American Chinese actor,
Jonathan Koss-Reed.
indeed, fluent in Chinese.
Yeah.
And he will be doing this travel show for the Chinese audience to be aired in China. So
Yeah.
we're looking forward to that. Work will start, I think, in 2 weeks' time.
Yeah. That's
You've
gonna
got
be
all the
great.
details, haven't you?
I got all the details, and that's going to be an amazing show.
I think it's going to be
He's-
fabulous.
Yeah, He's known as Chow Chow.
He's
in
Chow Chow,
China,
yes, he's
and
Chow Chow.
He'll be traveling Turkey and exploring the beautiful country and also the real estate and home buying
Absolutely,
opportunities
absolutely.
in Turkey. That's going to be great too, and I think that sums up our episode
Fantastic.
today. Okay. Thank you for watching. Me and Cameron, we talked about what 2020 holds for the Turkish economy and Turkish real estate. And my message is have a great year in 2020. Cameron?
My message is exactly the same. Happiness overall, health and happiness. I think these are the two most important things for Turkish real estate. I would urge investors to move in sooner rather than later because of things that I expect will start happening toward the middle of the year in 2020. So come in now for better deals.
All right.
There'll be less and less of them in times to come.
I'm sorry
Finish.
to cut you off.
Stop cutting me off, you.
Time's up. Okay, goodbye. We love you all.